So this is today's setup for this video. Obviously today it's all about stamping and making your own stamps. Hi, I'm Susanne from Susie's Journal Adventure and welcome to a new adventure in and with my journals. If you are an art journaler, a junk journaler, or you love making mixed media projects, then you probably use stamps in your artwork. To be honest, I don't use my stamps very often at the moment in my projects, but when I look at them, I should definitely use them more often, and I think they are so much fun, especially when you make them by yourself. I also have stamp sets that I bought, obviously, but as you can see here, they are brand new and I haven't used this set yet. And I have more sets that are brand new, although they are in my stash for approximately 2 years or so. And I don't know what the issue is, but when I grab my stamps, I love using them. But yeah, I think I should store them here directly on my studio desk, because when I see my materials, I know that I use them. So that's probably one thing that I have to figure out, storing them directly in front of me. I recently got some comments about my stamps, and I know that some of you are really interested in how I make my stamps and how the construction is and how I use them. And since this idea of making a video about my stamps has been on my mind for quite a long time now, I now thought that it's the time to make a video. So I want to show you 6 different ways to make your own stamps, and I think I'm going to split the video because I think this might take too long to show you everything in one single video. So let me at first show you my stamp collection, or at least, a part of my stamp collection. This is a basket where I store my foam stamps. And as you can see here, this is a pretty big stamp. This has the size DNA4, and I made it because I wanted to have this as a background for an art journal page. So I love making abstract or geometrical shapes. Is that the right word? I hope so. And I love stamping the image on the cardboard so that I can see better where I stamp the image on my project. These circles I made for some Christmas cards that I made, and this was a stamp for a Christmas tree. This is a stamp that I made by using a die cut and running the foam through my die cut machine. So I will show you that later as well. Then some random circular shapes. And I love these swirls here. They are so much fun. I love using them. Again, some circles, a tag, a little moon. So these small stamps are perfect for using up leftover pieces. And here you can already see my other stamps that I made. These are made from stamp carving rubber blocks that you can buy. I will show you this later as well. Or this fish, a fun heart, this arrow shape. And I also have these stamps where I use the leftover pieces from the stamp sets that you can buy. I won't go into detail about this technique in this video. You can check out my Instagram account where I uploaded already 2 reels, I guess, where you can see how I use the rubber material that is usually in between these stamps. I mean, you buy this set because you want to have these stamps that you can see here. But these sets always come with a full sheet of rubber, and then you just take these stamps out and you usually would throw away the in-between foam. But don't do this because you can use this material, cut it into any shapes that you like. For example, I used these rectangular shapes and glued them on cardboard, or I cut out these circles here. And here I have even more. These are all made from these leftover rubber material of the stamp sets that you can buy. The crosses, I love them so much. And by the way, here are some more. So let me quickly put this aside because I need space to show you how I make these stamps. So now you already know my first technique for making stamps, and this is the technique that you can check out on my Instagram, where you use the leftover pieces from the stamp sets. For the second technique, you need these stamp carving blocks. I will try to link these ones for you down below as well. And this is kind of a thick rubber material. And when you use this material, please check out the 2 sides of this rubber block, because the one side is really smooth and even. I don't know if you can see this in the camera. And the other side has a rougher texture here. So for stamping, you need the smooth, even side so that you get a nice and crisp stamp image. Okay, then you need an X-Acto knife, a pencil for drawing your shape, maybe a ruler, and this toolkit that you can buy. This is a tool that you can use for lino cutting. And it's a set that comes with different tools that you can attach to this handle. And they are perfect for the different shapes that you want to carve out of this block. You can make fine shapes or lines with this one, for example. You can cut with this. And then this is the widest one. This has nearly an oval shape. So let me show you what you can do with this rubber material. So at first I decide which size my stamp shall have, and that obviously depends on the image that I want to carve. So for this stamp I want to carve an abstract shape, and it always helps if you draw your design on a sheet of paper before you start carving. I'm thinking about something like this. And I just want to have some lines, some irregular lines that go in here from the left side and from the right side into the material. Like so. And then you have to figure out which portion of the stamp you have to remove, because you have to keep in mind that everything that you remove from the stamp doesn't show later on your stamped image, because you have the portions of the rubber material that stay, and you have the portions that you remove with this tool here. And when you later on go over this with your stamp pad or with your ink pad, obviously the ink will only stay on the material that you haven't removed before. So in this case, I want to have my ink everywhere here, and I want to remove these lines so that here is no ink later on. So this is going to be a stamp that grabs a lot of ink, and where I later on see the white paper underneath, only here where I have these lines now. So I will cut out at first a rectangular piece from this block. So make sure that you have a cutting mat underneath when you do this. So what I do now is I'm drawing my lines onto the rubber material. And to be honest, for this stamp, obviously, this wouldn't be necessary at all, because this is a very simple design. But I want to show you what you can do if you carve a more complex design or with more details. Let me quickly show you a more detailed stamp that I made. So for example, for this design, I drew the shapes onto my rubber material completely before carving. I should really use this more often. So what you have to keep in mind, you can see this here very well. Obviously, you have to carve your image into the rubber material, mirrored, so that your image, when you stamped it, is in the right direction, obviously. And this is, of course, also important if you want to carve letters, for example, or numbers. I just go in with this tool and remove the lines. And I like my stamps and nearly everything when it comes to art really grungy. So I don't mind if the lines are a little bit wonky, for example. So here, for example, I decided to carve from the other side instead of from this side. This is just intuition in this moment. And when you use this tool, you can determine with how much pressure you carve, because depending on the pressure that you use, when you go in your rubber material, you get wider lines or thinner lines. Okay, then let's do a test print. Ooh, I love this color. I love it. And now let me show you what I do and how I attach and why I attach it to a cardboard. So this is a really thick cardboard that you usually would use for making book covers. I was gifted this in a set when I bought something secondhand, and I was lucky to receive this. This has approximately the thickness 2 millimeters. I'm gluing the stamps on this cardboard, and I'm using my art glitter glue for this. This worked out really great every time I used it for my stamps. You can carefully try to use hot glue, but I made the experience that the hot glue comes off after a while. So I'm gluing the stamp down with borders of approximately 1/2 centimeter onto the cardboard. And then I'm cutting it down to size with my X-Acto knife. I'm just eyeballing where I want to cut. I can now glue another piece of cardboard on top of it, but as this cardboard is really thick, I think this is okay. You don't have to use this thick cardboard. When you have thinner cardboard, just glue together 2 or 3 pieces and then glue on the stamp. So what I then love to do is stamp the image, as I have already done here, onto a piece of paper. I won't do this again because obviously I did it already. And then I cut out this shape and glue this image here on top of the cardboard. And I check if I glue it down correctly. You know, I don't want to have, I mean, this is really difficult to see here, but you know, I want to have the image exactly how my stamp is. You know what I mean? And I think it's this way. Yes, you can see this is mirrored. So I'm turning this around, glue this on. And now my stamp is finished. And here you can see what I mean. When I say you have to keep in mind that you glue on the image correctly, because I can see exactly that the leaf here is positioned like so when I stamp, and the stamp is not like so when I turn it around, you know? And I highly recommend to do this. So the advantage is that I can see pretty well where I stamp. One important thing is I would not recommend to use acrylic paint on this material. I mean, you can use acrylics on this material, but then you really have to be fast and consistent in cleaning your stamp every time you used it. Otherwise, if you don't clean it, the acrylics will go in your carved out portions of the stamp, and after using the stamp several times, you won't get the image anymore because this is filled with acrylic paint. So I usually don't use these stamps with acrylics. I use them with my ink pads, or you can also use them with oxide sprays or anything really liquid. Let me show you now the third technique for making stamps. For this technique you need this foam material. In English this is called foam rubber. And it is this soft material. I think a lot of you know this material from maybe kids crafting projects or so. And this is really perfect for making your stamps. So let's use a white sheet of this foam so that you can see better what I do. With this foam I want to make myself a star stamp because I can't believe it, but I don't have a star stamp in my stash at the moment, so it's time to make one. And on this material you can just go over with a pencil and draw what you want to draw. So I'm just drawing some wonky stars. They are perfect, beautifully wonky. And the good thing about this material is you can just cut it with your scissors. So I simply cut out these stars. I mean, you can of course also use your X-Acto knife, but this is not necessary here. Okay, I cut out the 5 stars. And now I'm grabbing my cardboard again. And I'm positioning the stars how I like them. You can of course glue the stars down and make 5 stamps. But in my case, I want to have this as a whole, as one stamp. So I'm using my art glitter glue here as well. I'm cutting out the whole stamp now. This is the cutout stamp, and now I have a great tip for you, because of course I want to have the image here as well. And what I'm doing is I'm positioning the shape on my paper that I will later on glue on top of the cardboard. I'm tracing the shape. Then I'm cutting it out. And now I'm stamping directly on this cutout paper. And that way, you now have the stars exactly there where the stamps are glued on. So when you now glue this on top, you see exactly the position of the stamped stars later on your project. And that's only because you traced the shape at first and cut out this shape at first before you stamped on the image. And this stamp is finished as well. So these new stamps can now go in my stash. And I think I will end this video here because I have more ideas to share with you about making your own stamps. And this video would take way too long if I would share it all in this one video. So watch out for the new video that I think I will probably upload in the next week. And in the next video, I want to share a second way of making stamps from this material here, and some other techniques, of course. So have fun making your own stamps. Thank you so much for watching again, or thank you so much for watching for the first time if you are new on my channel. Have a lovely day and I hope to see you soon in my next video. Bye!